Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today where we'll be talking about the Digital Creative Enterprise major, or we call it DCE, within the Bachelor of Management here at UTS Business School. My name is Rachel and joining me is Dr. Sumati Ahuja, who coordinates the DCE major within the Bachelor of Management.
My name is Sumati Ahuja. I am the subject coordinator for the new Digital Creative Enterprise major. I'm also an architect, that's my background, and I have a PhD in management, and I'm particularly interested in creative people in the business world. So how do you deploy creativity in the business world today?
Now, DCE is a relatively new major. What exactly is it?
Okay, so this is very exciting major because it brings the two worlds that I'm very familiar with, which is design and business, or design and management to be more specific, together. So it's a really great way for students to learn ways to improve the management of an organization's digital presence, and also learn to apply design thinking principles, which is really creative approaches to problem solving. One of the things that's really important to recognize is that we increasingly face very, very complex problems. For example, aging populations, for example, global warming. These complex solutions are not based on one organization or one answer. This really calls for collective action, and this is where creative thinking is very, very well positioned, because it doesn't follow traditional approaches to solving problems. And creative thinking and design thinking in particular recognizes that complex problems need a suite of expertise to answer those. And creatives are really well positioned in that field because creativity relies very much on framing and reframing the problem across the stakeholder ecosystems. So when you work in multidisciplinary teams in this subject, for example, you realize how fundamental all the organization silos are and how they need to come together. And in this particular course, we help you develop skills that allow you to talk across disciplines by simple things like putting the user at the center of any problem framing that you do. So what's really great and what leverages creative thinking across organizations is that very focus on putting the user at the center of the ecology of the problem.
So why should students study a major in DCE at UTS?
The course itself is a very interesting course because it is designed to get students engaged in innovation in the digital economy. So it gives students an opportunity to align themselves with national and international endeavours that particularly reward innovation in the digital sector. Now, we will also be engaging very actively with industry. We have several industry partners that share their insights and pitch problems at students, which gives all of the students a chance to engage really actively with what's going on in the industry context at the moment and apply your historic and contemporary understandings of governance in the creative industries sector.
What are some of the skills and knowledge that students that do a major in DCE will walk away with?
So this is a really great opportunity for students to learn about the creative industries. So that's one subject, and how important the creative industries are to our economy and to the global economy more broadly, and how that sector has really made major inroads into really pivotal parts of digitalized, globalized economies. Students will learn to work in multidisciplinary teams, which is increasingly a mode in which most organizations want people to work in. We will also be talking a lot about creative approaches to solving complex problems across industries. So moving away from traditional management thinking into more creative design thinking type approaches to solving complex problems. And one of the really key things about creative approaches and design thinking in particular is to put the user or the customer at the center of the focus of the innovation. So students will learn how to critically appraise industry problems, as well as focus on the consumer, the customer, the user, as a way of innovating.
And what are the subjects that students will be studying in this major?
The major has a suite of subjects, and in the first year you'll be doing 21662, which is creative industries in the collaborative economy. So this is a subject where you really learn about how broad the reach now is of the creative industries across, as I mentioned, digitalized and globalized economies. And there are subjects that cover risk management, and there are subjects that cover creative thinking, and there's a capstone subject particularly that covers digital governance and strategy. So you get a suite of subjects that are user-focused and completely kind of rethink the way that businesses are designed, and then how do creative industries fit within the broader picture of our economy.
Now, as mentioned earlier, DCE is a newer major, so we don't actually have any graduates just yet. But what are some of the career options that students can expect if they do choose this as a major?
So I think really the scope of careers out of this subject is really, really broad. We have some very interesting industry partners that we work with. So we have IBM, who have a whole design sort of section, and the leader of IBM's design team in Asia Pacific is one of our key partners. So she and her team present industry problems, and you get to work with people from Deloitte and IBM, who will both be pitching their problems and mentoring students through. So really interesting opportunities and options for students, not just to go into traditional creative industries, but really to think very broadly about how almost every industry now, whether it's a bank or insurance, any traditional business even uses creativity. And so to develop these skills is a really great way of positioning yourself in a global marketplace for creatives in all industries, regardless of whether they're creative per se or whether they're traditional sectors that employ creative people. So it's a really, really broad scope of employment.
And finally, what would be your top tip for a student considering coming and studying DCE?
So the top tip really is that this is a great opportunity for all the students to explore how to be a creative entrepreneur in our digital world. The key learnings are really how to be creative. So creativity is something that can be taught, and everybody can use that in different ways, as I've already mentioned, across very traditional sectors. So you can be an embedded creative in a non-traditional sector or work as a creative in a creative industry. And the other great thing about this particular suite of subjects is that students learn the ways in which creativity gives an edge to any business. So you can really leverage your skills in whatever interests you, right from startups through to enterprises like IBM and Deloitte.
Sumati, thank you so much for joining us and talking us through DCE.
It's been my pleasure, and I want to just conclude by saying that I really enjoy both teaching and researching this subject. It's very close to my heart, of course, coming from architecture, but also because I get to meet such a diverse cohort of students with so many different interests coming from so many different backgrounds. So it's a really great melting pot of ideas, and I really look forward to having some of you in my cohort very shortly.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please feel free to explore our other videos detailing our courses and majors. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us via our social media channels listed in front of you, or you can contact us directly by phone on 9514 3074 or email business@uts.edu.au. Thanks again.